The views and opinions expressed on the Craig L. Hayes Show do not necessarily reflect those of Westgate Resorts ownership or management. And now, on with the show.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.
All right, everybody, we are back at the Westgate Resort in Las Vegas and the International Theater in Elvis Presley's former dressing room, talking with Rick Keller, and he's telling us about some of his experiences being a stagehand and being an electrician, spot op, all those fun things. And some of what we'll call the early days. The early days were like my dad back in the 50s and your dad in the 60s. Those were the early days of showbiz. But our early days, late 70s, 80s, etc. Those were good days too.
Oh yeah,
in this town.
I'll tell you what, we probably had the best days of anybody working in this town. I mean, the show people, most of them, 99% of them were all good people, And like I said, if you did your job, didn't cause problems, you worked, and they were fun. And it's fun to be doing something where there's 800 people sitting there loving it.
Yeah.
And you did them twice a night. And it was good stuff. We were kind of semi-bosses in the hotel, really. I was able to do most anything I wanted to do if I thought of something to do. And we didn't have equipment, though. That was a thing in the Sahara. Later on, early on for the first 2 years there, we still had the star acts and stuff. And our biggest act was probably Johnny Carson.
That's a big act, actually.
Well, in those days, it was said that he was making right around 60 to 70 million a year doing the Tonight Show. So you think about that, 1979, 1980. That's big money.
Serious money.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he was a great guy. He had fought in the Second World War in the Navy on the USS Pennsylvania. So a lot of those acts were like that. Don Rickles was in the Army, fighting in the Philippines.
And people don't understand him, that what he does on stage is an act. Off stage, he's
the nicest guy.
He's the nicest guy on the planet,
The first time that I got close to him was they had me go down and work the wire, mic line.
Yep.
And he ran back and forth. So you had to make sure it was clear for him to take off running, and then he'd turn around and start running back. You had to get it back, and then he'd go back and forth and maybe get the center. If he got the center, you would, by one eye watching him, go back there and re-ess it, because he would just, boom, take off running.
Yep.
So I got through it. But he came down the stairs from the dressing room, and he knew who I was. And he took one look at me, reached in his pocket, pulled out $5 and said, "Hey, kid, get a meal." So that was just to let you know, hey, you're okay. But Carson, that was a different thing. When he was in that hotel, it was a whole different atmosphere. So they were pretty special shows, and you couldn't screw those up. Because he had big-time people in NBC, and they would come see the shows, but he was so big, he flew in every night. So, and then fly out.
Yeah, because most people didn't realize that the Tonight Show didn't get recorded at 11 o'clock at night.
No, it was 4 in the afternoon. 3 or 4 in the afternoon they filmed it.
And he'd go down to he was in Burbank. He'd just go hop on the plane, come down, do a couple of shows, and go back.
Right, and he'd do that 3 or 4 nights a week.
Yep.
So what had happened with that was Rickles would do his show, The Tonight Show, when he was doing the shows here, or whatever the deal was, something like that. Well, Carson smoked, and he smoked like a chain. And he just one cigarette after another. So he had a cigarette case that he'd had forever when the show was way back in New York. And that thing probably held 50 cigarettes, because I saw the thing on TV. But Rickles would get fun and get going, but he was the nicest guy. Like you said, off the stage, nicest guy. Mm-hmm. And he grabbed the thing and smacked it, and it cracked the lid.
Oh.
Well, now, I'm sure you've seen this too. People were afraid to tell a star that something was wrong. Like they're going to go on stage or whatever. Hey, well, by the way, this has gone wrong. man, people were afraid to say things were wrong to these people. So he gets back the next night, and nobody told him. So the first time he grabs it to get a cigarette, the lid's in half. And there was a whole thing on TV. I actually saw it because you would sit there and have the TVs on before the show. And sure enough, well, they said Don got a little crazy and busted your cigarette box. And he's about to cry because he'd had the thing forever. And so I guess Rickles was doing CPO Sharky. So he went over there with the camera and the cables and everything and got in his face and everything. But then he decided, I'm going to get back at this guy. And, because they would do games against each other. So I get a call from your dad. Your dad was the technical director. He says, clean the booth up, get an ashtray. I'm bringing Carson up. And we're about to start. We're about to start a show with Don Rickles. And I think the act, maybe Kathy Carlson or something was her name. Because if you had a comedian, you had a singer for an opening act. And we had a full band. And so it's like, okay, so we clean it up a little bit. 2 spotlight operators. I think I smoked at the time, but maybe half a pack a day. So I cleaned my ashtray. My ashtrays were always clean. And so that's a Jay Rich story. I'll have to tell you about that. But anyway, so I set the ashtray there, and I take a towel. We always had towels because you needed towels for your spotlights. So I put a towel down and he could stick his drink on. Hoping he wouldn't spill it on the board.
There you go.
Yeah. So I get the other chair that's the older board chair over there, and your dad brings him in. Then your dad runs away. It's like, God dang, now what? And they sit him next to me. It's okay, and we're starting the show, and there was several things you had to do to get the house lights out. They were on 3 different systems, So fade the lights out, and he's sitting there watching, and man, we start the show, and he's kind of looking at what I'm doing because he's sitting right next to me, and it's a manual board, and we're about the 3rd song. We're talking. He goes, man, this kind of looks fun. I go, it's real fun. Here, you do it. The next song. What? I go, yeah, here, come here. And I get up out of my chair, and I pull his chair back, and here, get over here and sit down. It's between numbers. Okay, so this number is going to be scene 4 and scene 5. And your group master's up. So I said, you're going to put your left hand here and pull these 2 group masters down and push this scene here. And he's looking at me and looking at the stage, and 4 button, remember? Yeah, 4 button. I push it in, and they were mechanical buttons. Pushes it in, and I said, okay, the song's starting. Here we go. Start dragging the front lights out. Oh, I said, see how that's working? Yeah. Okay, now bring the other one in. Okay, now you can take this thing and do this with the beat of I said, you play drums? Just keep going with the music with, oh, yeah. Wow, am I doing it right? And I go, yeah, you're doing it great. Look down there. And yeah. Oh, this is fun. Okay, we get to the end of the number. We're going to bump in a number. So put your hands on these 2 handles with one hand, and then when the music's going to end, the conductor's going to go, boom, it's over. Push the 2 off buttons, and that kills the scenes. And throw those up, and then you're going to drag them back down to a look that's not so bright. Okay, like this, yeah. Pow, man. He did it perfect. He goes like, wow, and he pulls the other ones down. I said, okay, here's the next song. So he ran like 4 songs, and he had such a great time. But these guys were such good people, Their money didn't sway them on how they dealt with people so much, at least in our world. And so that was pretty fun. And then your dad came back, got him, and Rickles would open his show like a big matador. He'd come to the audience with security leading him and the showroom captains and stuff through the audience with this matador music, get on the stage. Well, he'd come through the kitchen entrance. And so Carson says, well, when I come through, I'm going to come through after he gets on stage. So you put the spotlights on me, and it'll be the same kind of routine. The band was cued in what to do. Of course, Rickles knew nothing of this.
Yeah.
And Rickles gets on the stage, and he's walking around holding his hands up like he's the big matador. And that curtain opens, and you could see in there because it was the kitchen. And called the call, the spots black out, bang in on him, follow him through. And the audience lights come back up, and it was just hilarious. He gets on stage and basically says anybody could do this act, and then starts doing little silly jokes, you know. Your mama wears cowboy boots, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Silly jokes. And it was the funniest thing. And then, God, it was like a week later, I get a thing from NBC. It's like, what's this, And he had autographed a picture.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. The hotel delivered it to me. They saw anything with his name on it or NBC and stuff, and it had my name on it. Secretaries brought it to me, stayed late to bring it to me. So, yeah, he was a good guy,
Yeah.
and he had a good time with it. And those shows were very good, but it got to be, I think, the first one that really kind of screwed things up money-wise was Dolly Parton demanded X amount of dollars, and she was only going to do one show a night. I believe that was at the Riviera. So they got so expensive, and it got to be you could troop a show. Before you couldn't troop shows. The sound equipment, you couldn't move. The lighting equipment, you really couldn't move. I mean, that telethon, we'd spent 6 weeks or more setting that thing up. I think Cinema Services was the first people that figured out to build big steel trolleys to put the dimmer racks on so they could actually roll them into a place.
Yeah.
And they were big as commercial refrigerators. So once they got to where they could troop shows, then the acts figured out, we don't have to do 2 shows a night, 7 days a week. We could go play in Fresno in their stadium, and do 2 shows, Friday and Saturday, and make the same money.
Yeah.
So it all changed.
Yep.
It all changed, and you started getting cheaper acts. But sometimes, by then, the Loudons had bought the hotel, Paul Loudon. So he had no money, really. He was able to buy the hotel on pennies on the dollar and make payments, but we couldn't buy new equipment. And I had that freaking manual board all the way up to 99. And I could hardly get anybody to come in and run it and take time off. There was times where I would get a computer board and Cinema Services come in and figured out how to hook the rack up so you could hook DMX to it, and it'd do both. So some shows, yeah, I had a computer board, and the moving lights started to come in, so you had to learn those. Fantastic things when they started coming along. You could really do magical stuff. As long as you still kept the ideal that what was the main purpose there was who was standing center on the stage. I remember my father taking me out in front of the hotel. At the time, the Sahara had the largest sign in the country.
Yeah, that tall, thin one that went,
Yeah.
really tall. It was big.
Yeah. So he takes me out there and he goes, "What do you see on there?" I said, "It says Charo." And he goes, "That's what you light. You're doing all kinds of cool stuff, but you better light that. That's what the people come to see." And that influenced me enough to where that's where I started getting into side lighting, a lot of side lighting, including lights laying on the floor, shooting across. But a lot of that's forgotten. You see some of this stuff nowadays, there's so much going on. It's all beautiful, but where's the act?
Yeah, and that's, I think I've worked with Barry Manilow 10 years plus out of the 20 years I've known him. Did 673 shows with him or something like that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And even he understands all that stuff. They would light a new number, something like that, and then they'd say, "Okay, Barry, ready for you to come look at it." He'd take a look at it, and he'd have someone go be him, stand on stage, and he'd go walk the room, around the room. He'd go, "Okay, it's a little too bright behind me on the band carts,"
Yeah.
And he goes, and basically he knows that whole scenario. They came to see me.
Yeah.
They didn't come to see the band. They came to see me.
Yeah.
And all these video walls and stuff look beautiful.
They're too bright.
But if they take away from what I'm doing down here, and that's what I think so many people have lost in this business is what your dad had taught you so many years ago. The person, keep the light and everything else on the money, which is the star,
But
now you can sit there and watch these shows, and there's lights just flashing nonstop all the place, moving and swirling and doing. These lighting guys now today, I think, look at it, go, "Hey, everybody came to see my lighting." No, they didn't.
yeah, it's pretty, but no.
If you put it in the audience's eyes a whole bunch, they're,
Yeah,
if I go see shows and it's in my eyes all the time, I leave.
yeah,
It's like, I'm not the star. Get it out of my eyes. I want to watch the star.
yeah.
And
It's hard to do, and so some of the newer shows. That's why the act is lit like it's TV, so that they're so bright that you could see them from that big LED screen behind them.
yeah.
Which really, to me, it's like, God, hang shark's tooth in front of that stuff, so it's not so bright.
Knock it down a little bit.
But
You know, and
you can do beautiful things, that's for sure. But it's not so easy to do. It's good that Barry does that, because what the guy sees programming sometimes doesn't, always work for what Barry wants to see.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And he has to tone things down or adjust things, but that's just part of it. And I think, gosh, I worked him. What did he wear? Dark blue. Most men wear black or dark blue, or
Yeah.
yeah. So it takes a lot to make them stand out from other things.
Yeah, he has several different, coats. He always has his black pants on, and but he changes coats from different colors. They could be green, they could be purple. Just his Copa thing is usually a greenish. Has all the frills and stuff on it. He's a showman. He is so good.
Yeah.
Very.
Good stuff.
And that's his private room right over there through those two doors right there. That's his private room.
Yeah.
It's his room.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's that's what I'm saying. Here we are talking about show business, and we're in Elvis's dressing room. The bar right there is original Elvis. The mirrors behind me and on this wall, they're all original Elvis.
Wow. Yeah.
And Barry Manilow his private room is right through those two doors right there. It's
Yeah.
where else can you do a podcast like this about show
Right.
business in a better place in this town? I mean,
Most
come
have
on.
been tore down.
I know. It's just amazing. And here we are sitting here talking about show business in this
Yeah.
room. So blessed to be able to do this. They allow me to do this. And
Yeah. But that hotel, Sahara, was a great place to grow up and work in. Dale Webb finally sold out. He died and it sold out. And
like you say, Loudon bought it.
Loudon bought it. He was a good guy. He was in showbiz himself. He was a piano player. So I was all young and trying to get new equipment and everything. And I'd go up and see him, and he'd say, "Well, Rick, we can't afford that. But we're here to make money. So we're going to make money." And doggone, we did with him. We went to a drag show, Kenny Kerr, and he was a good guy. That show ran an hour and 5. We did 3 of them a night, except on Sundays we did 4. So we were making like 22 shows a week. And
And that's the day you're getting paid per show, not hourly. But
oh yeah, that's the only way to be in a showroom, show pay. People that you guys do hourly here, it's terrible. I was totally against it. Oh no. Here's why. Depending on the place. Now, if you're doing show pay, you're there to do the shows. And the thing about that is, that's the most important thing you're doing. When you're doing hourly, show is just something you do in your 8-hour day. And what screws that up is you got to be there at 4 in the afternoon or 3. If you're a young person with a family, that's terrible. You miss your kids coming home from school. You miss dinner. You miss them going to bed. And you got nothing to do usually, except for the electric crew. And that's where the problems start. The carpenters, you take any good carpenter crew, head carpenter, and you start in on hourly. In 2 weeks, that place is so spick and span and beautiful that they don't have nothing to do anymore other than waiting for the show. Same with the props. Props gets everything fixed, everything working. Same with the rail, but the doggone electricians, they got all these stupid robots that break constantly. So I always felt it caused dissension on the crews because the electric guys had to keep working while everybody's playing around. And I'm like you. I always try to find something to do. And so I always felt, man, people standing around, people walking around, it's just not right. So I never liked it. Plus, the other thing is, you're working shows at night, you go out and make the same money 6 hours a day working convention work. So if things got rough where you needed money, bingo, you're right in working conventions 8 in the morning till 4, and then
Yeah.
go do
There's
shows.
good and bad to both sides, but on our side of it, it's, our crew is 3 people.
Well,
And we work together. Lighting needs something, you go work with lighting. Sound needs something, I go work with it.
yeah.
If I needed something, they come work with me. So it was just a core. And then, we'd go from 3 people, full-time people, head sound, head electric, head carp, and we'd go up to 21 people for Manilow.
Mm-hmm.
And bring in the army basically, and let's do some shows and stuff.
Yeah. Well, if it's slow, that's true. Yeah.
Yep. And
But
it's
I never liked it.
yeah, I've done it both ways, and there's 2 ways of you looking at it and going, well, if it's just hourly, and people first start thinking, but if the hourly is just what we were making, it's not. Well, the way I made sure it happened here was, what's our guarantee? Okay, 10 shows. So there's our 10 shows. That's equivalent to 20 hours, right?
Yeah, that was a
And
good
that's
call
our 20.
on that one.
So here's the money. Here's the money package. Add the 10 shows, 20 hours together, divide it by 40. That's the rate now, which bumped up the rate.
Yeah, gigantically.
Yeah, but
Compared
the
to-
hourly rate went way up, and everybody here fought me on it. I'm going, that's just the beginning. The rate went up on your hourly. Now look at the overtime. I said, we live here, guys. Look at your overtime rate now. Now look at the double time rate.
Yeah.
I go, you guys have no idea how much you
Money
just
you're
started
gonna make.
making.
Yeah.
You know?
So it worked out good here.
Yeah, for this place. Other places, I don't know how they do it. I just know in this place it worked
Well,
out to our advantage
we got that little show.
amazingly.
We got that little show, and we were doing 24 shows, 23 shows a week.
Yeah.
And we were there at 6 o'clock at night and leaving at midnight.
Yeah,
And you made 3 shows. That's like time and a half
yeah, that's
every day.
pounding it right through, man.
Yeah. That was good times. And when we weren't doing that, they would throw Red Fox in the mix.
Yeah, I ran spot. We'll come back to that here in just a couple minutes here, because there's times I came over and I ran spot with you and did installs. I think I installed Boylesque with you.
Probably.
Yeah, I was over there and we did the Boylesque install, which I was like, and I think I worked part of that with you. But I was working at Splash at the Riviera, so I couldn't do too much other than here or there. But I was like, okay, so now there's I've worked La Cage over at the Riviera, Boylesque, and Flamboyant Follies at the Mint. The 3 biggest.
I think all those guys are dead now.
Yeah, a bunch of them are.
They get caught up to them. Yeah.
I bumped into a couple, and they're still around. And but
Yeah.
that was a time. Anyways, when we come back with episode number 4, this was 3. We've already done 3 episodes. Flies by, doesn't it? And it's
Sure does.
great. This stuff is so much fun to do, and talk stories and show business and the history. Love it. Anyways, we'll be back in just a couple minutes. We'll start another podcast, and until then, Talbot, take it away.
This is the Craig L. Hayes Show.
All right. Well, doggone. How about that? Gosh, I thought I would have nothing to say. And we haven't even started in the places I worked and everything.
Most people think that when they come in here, and then they just go, "Wow, I can't believe we got all this to talk about."